So today we're gonna start with a review. We're gonna talk about how to eat. We raised the question about what's the connection between food and Kabbalah. Why food is the important part of our life, and most of the day we think about what am I gonna eat, right? Or should I eat this? I don't want to eat this, but I still eat it, right? Like those kind of things. We're consumed a lot, and we even said when we look at the story of creation, we actually see that this universe came about with eating something, right? Like the Adam ate from the tree of life and tree of knowledge, good and bad, and here we are. So basically, we talked about the connection of food and Kabbalah, and we said that food is the source of nourishment, and the way we eat also determines how we nourish our body. But at the same time, the reason why we want to talk about it in Kabbalah is that we learn about how to receive energy, and food is a way of receiving energy, and the way that we receive it, because it feeds the body and because that the soul lives in the body, it's about how we sustain our soul. Because if we don't care about what we eat and the energy that it has, and how we eat it, why we eat it, and so on, then it's going to affect how our soul is also going to feel. So the whole idea of this class is to understand why I'm eating, how I should be eating, what to eat, and when to eat. So we raised all these 4 questions. And last week, if you remember, we also spoke about the biggest component in this game of life, which also is involved within food as well, is the opponent, right? And it's important to see and see in our life how my opponent shows up when I'm eating, right? And that's why we said every time we're about to eat something, we need to ask ourselves, why am I going to eat this food? Am I really hungry? Do I want it because I'm depressed? Or I just want something sweet to make me feel better? I'm tired, right? Like why? Or I'm feeling lonely and I don't know what to do with myself, so I'm just like stuffing myself. Like there are different reasons why we eat. Or do I want to, like in a spiritual way, do I want to eat because we spoke about the 4 kingdoms, and we said that human beings are the most elevated in the forms of existence that's in this world. And we said that the purpose why in a spiritual way we should be eating is to give all the other existence, fulfill it, the chance to fulfill its purpose in this life, right? When we eat the apple, we need to be thinking, I'm giving this apple its purpose of existence. And when we do it like that, when we connect to it like that, also the energy within the food also transforms. That it does not become a weight in our body, and also like the side effects that come with it is because that we connect to food from a place of taking, not from a place of giving. So when we see righteous people actually eat for the sake of giving. They eat completely with this consciousness of, I want to give the food the chance to do what it came to do, right? So the goal is to get to that place, because within the period we just eat because we're starving, or we're like very hungry, or like we said, we just eat for pleasure, right? Did you notice this week the reasons why you eat, and were you able to see different things like that? Yeah, sure.
So to refer to what you were just talking about, so when we're thinking about if that particular food, let's say, is not healthy for my body, right? Or it's going to harm me in a certain way because I read somewhere that it's not good. Let's say dairy.
Okay.
Whatever, right? So when you have different consciousness like that, does that mean that it's not going to affect that? Or I'm not talking about if you're allergic to but
no, actually I read that it says if a person has the right consciousness, then the food is not going to affect the person in a bad way. Meaning that, like for example, what I was reading is that, you heard about the manna that the Israelites got in the desert? Yes, no? So I'll explain what it is. Basically, after Israelites left Egypt, when they were in the desert, they got manna from the sky, meaning that they every day received food that when they tasted it, it tasted exactly what they wanted to eat. So let's say today I feel like eating steak, and I taste the manna, it tasted exactly like the most tasty steak. Or if I wanted to eat bread, it tasted like bread, okay? And it says that the manna was different than the other kinds of food. And it was a different kind of nourishment because it actually connected them to the endless, meaning that like the moment they ate it, it immediately went to their bloodstream. There was no digestion involved. Like the body did not need to break it down and like spend energy and like so that it would go into the blood. It would immediately go into the blood. You know, just like how the baby is nourished in the mother's womb, right? The moment that the mom eats, the baby is nourished because there's an aspect that's still connected to the endless in that process. So it was with the manna. So it says that like the righteous, when they eat, they connect to the purpose of the food, meaning that like they don't eat the food to take, they don't eat the food to receive from it. They eat with the consciousness of sharing, meaning that like I'm giving this food its purpose of existence. And as a result, the energy of the food also changes. So Rambam was writing that like if a person actually eats like that, he would not have any negative effects from what he eats. Of course, there's like what to eat and so on, but like that's the basic, in the basic level, that's the consciousness. You know, next week we're going to talk about different types of food and how the different types of food have different kinds of effects, you know? So there's also like different energies to different types of food. So based on that, we can kind of like see what kind of energies we choose to take in and not to take in. There's other ways to elevate them. So today, again, like if you remember, we spoke about this whole concept. I mean, this is something that we need to remember all the time, that the numerical value of food is equal to the word sustain. And the whole idea of food is to sustain the body so that the body will be a place for the soul to live. But not just it can be a garbage place that your soul rests, meaning that if I'm choosing to eat all kinds of food just to stuff myself up, just to give pleasure to myself, then, you know, the soul will feel heavy, will feel confused, right? Like we see the side effects of it also in the way how we operate, in the way like we're not clear and so on. And the moment that you actually, and we spoke about this also a little bit last week, the moment that you do a cleanse, you start eating healthy, you stop and you think, okay, you know, why am I eating this? Should I eat this, not eat this? Then there's also a clarity that comes with that restriction, because the body just becomes like a holy place that your soul lives. So the whole idea of the sustaining is that it's just something for my body to keep going, but I want to take care of it and sustain it in the best and the cleanest way possible. And we ask the 4 questions, which every week we are addressing them. You know, this week we're going to talk about, like we spoke last week, why to eat. And this week we're going to talk about how much to eat and how to eat. Next week we're going to talk about what to eat. And last class we're going to talk about when to eat, meaning that there's different windows in time that has more energy that the food has. And we're going to talk about, again, why there's dinners after weddings, why there's a breakfast or lunch after a circumcision or any holiday that we see, there's food served. It's not for the social reasons, there's actually energetical reasons. Even we said that when we go to visit a righteous soul, one of the things that you do to connect to the energy in the grave site is also by eating. You eat cookies and you drink liquor. Did you know that? When you go to visit the soul of a righteous, like the grave site of a righteous soul, one of the ways to connect to the energy in the tomb is by eating a cookie and drinking liquor.
That's what happened
you know? So again, you go to a place of energy and again you eat, you know? And it's not by coincidence because it's a way of making that spiritual energy into physical. And we're going to talk about it more next week, like what to eat so that different kinds of food draw different types of energies. So we're going to learn into more detail of what to eat next week. All right. So today we're going to talk about how to eat and how much to eat. And there's a lot like to be discussed about it, to be talked about it. And by the way, did you do the meditation before eating during this week? The meditation that I gave you? No? But did you have the consciousness in a way, like before you ate, did you stop and think that the food comes from the light and I want to connect to elevate the sparks? I hope so. Some yes, some no. Sorry? It was like what to think before eating, that the light, that I want to connect to the light inside this food and I want to connect to the light of the Creator in the food. Okay, so now we're going to talk about how to eat. Meaning that the food is in front of you, or in a way that like you want to eat something, you know, how should I approach it? So a few things that the Rambam said is that he said, eat when you're hungry and drink when you're thirsty. Because if you think about it, so many times we actually drink or eat because we are bored, right? Or just it's given to us. Like, did it ever happen that you found yourself, let's say that like you went to like a celebration or something, you actually ate something before, and there's all these cakes in front of you, all these like amazing food, even though you're completely full, you still have room for it, right? So it's the dessert, when it comes, there's always room for dessert. So, so every time actually when we do that, it creates a heaviness. It doesn't really like help in a spiritual way, unless your consciousness is for the sake of sharing. So let's say that you're eating the dessert because you want to share with the person that cooked it. You know, like you're really full and you're like, no, I really don't want to eat. But your aunt comes up with this cake and she really wants to make you happy and wants to share this cake with you. And the only reason why you're eating is to make her happy, then you can eat it, you know, then it's, you're eating for the sake of sharing. But most of the time we don't eat like that, right? Or like we don't eat the cake because I want to help the cake to elevate its sparks. We just like want to take from the cake. So, one of the things that he says is to eat when you're hungry and drink when you're thirsty. And the other thing that he says, eat a quarter less than what you plan to eat. Because again, if you pay attention, you will see we go and fill up our plates. At least personally, I can say for myself that I'm not full, so let's go and fill up the plate again. Or even though we feel full, it's like we enjoyed the taste so much, we go ahead and fill up the plate still, right? But Rambam says that eat a quarter less than what you, like kind of to leave the table not feeling completely full. You still feel a little bit hungry. There's still room for it. And again, the reason for it is that when we're filling ourselves up, again, it comes to the point of the consciousness of I just want to fill myself up. You know, it's not, again, a spiritual reason. It's not... it says in the writings of Moshe Cordovero in Path of the Just, he says that, you know, the more that you actually try to stuff yourself to feel pleasure and to feel full, the more empty you're actually gonna feel. Like in 10 minutes, 20 minutes, you're gonna feel hungry again, and that's what always happens, right? Like, and then, or we feel stomach ache, we want to throw up. We feel disgusted afterwards, and then again, it's it really doesn't really satisfy. It doesn't really last the pleasure. So, if you really try it, I actually had tried this to leave the table on a hungry stomach. You really see that there's spiritual side effects to it. Like you really see that there's clarity. You see, because it's a major restriction, because it's very difficult to leave the table feeling still not completely full. Or you listen to your body and you eat when you're really hungry. You know, it's a major restriction. Like you see the food and you say, you know what, I'm not hungry and I'm gonna wait. So there's spiritual effects that come with these things. The other thing that he suggests is to warm up your body before you eat. Yeah, sure.
So I found out that I don't like waste food, so I eat after my son or whatever. It's like you put on a plate, I kind of want to leave, but then it's the idea of wasting the food. So if I eat that for the purpose of not wasting, it's still not
So maybe don't put yourself food, and if you know that like you're gonna eat his leftovers, maybe don't put too much for yourself, so that you can eat you know what I mean?
Okay, but how about like, if I put on my plate and then he suggests that we still leave it like water less, then it's still like food that goes to waste.
No, of course we shouldn't waste food. You know, I don't want to tell you, yes, throw away the food, because it's also a shame to throw away food. But maybe you put it aside and you say, okay, I'm going to eat it later. You know, like you can save it for you for later. Not again, like or you take, when you're serving yourself, you take less for yourself because you know he's going to leave food for you. If he always like leaves something and you always end up eating his leftovers. So maybe when you're serving yourself, take half of what you normally would put for yourself. Because with the extras of him, it will be like a normal meal.
Let's say he's not in the picture. Let's say I'm eating by myself. I'm eating the plate. So I'm eating like a quarter.
Yeah, then save his leftovers for another time. And when you're hungry, you eat it after, you know? Or for him, you serve it to him after, I don't know. Depends on what kind of leftover he has, you know what I mean? Certain foods you can keep, certain not. But of course, not to waste, but still to find ways around it, you know? So warm up your body before you eat, like stretching, walking. Again, it's like it all comes from the concept of you know. It doesn't mean like now you're in a wedding and you start like stretching before you're about to eat. You know, like it does. Okay, I have to do a run around the room before I sit down to eat. But the concept of it is to, again, like to come to food with consciousness. You know, that you come to food with, okay, my body is warm, I'm ready to eat. That you look at the body in a way that it's a mechanism that's gonna digest it. You know, is it like digestible? Like I'm warm, not warm. Like to know your body also at the same time. Just to know how your body works, what kind of food makes you feel good, what kind of food doesn't make you feel good, or when you eat, what kind of effects it has. To really listen to, like the whole idea of also eating when you're hungry and drinking when you're thirsty is to be in touch, to be aware, not just like a robot. Okay, they put me food and I'm gonna eat it, right? But you're in touch, you're aware of why you're doing what you're doing. You're in control. You have a consciousness behind it. That's the whole idea. Eat sitting down, because in today's world, in New York, right, running around, and again, like sitting down will give you the ability to meditate in each bite, to chew properly, to let the food also sit and be digested properly, right? Like to give that that possibility. Like even if you can have 5 minutes. Like I told you last week, like the Rav would take very long time sitting and chewing the food. Everybody would finish, the whole dining room would finish, and the Rav would still slowly eat, and everybody already finished the dessert. The Rav was still eating the main course, you know, to take the time to chew and to be slow with it in a way, and to connect to the energies in the food. Don't eat close to bedtime. Again, it's like something you hear also nutritionists like say. It's a lot of effort on the body to digest the food, right? Like if you eat carbs, it takes 2 hours for the body to digest. If you ate something protein, it takes 7 to 8 hours. Like easy is 6 hours. You know, the minimum it like takes 6 hours for the body to break a protein meal. So if you eat and then straight you go to bed, your body will not be rested, because during the whole time you're sleeping, your body is actually trying to digest what you ate, and like working really hard to break all the food you ate. And the reason why the Kabbalists actually say don't eat prior to bed is because you know, the Kabbalists talk about the gifts of sleep on the soul, because like the whole idea of sleep is it's a way for the soul to charge itself. That every time we sleep, a part of ourselves, 1/60 of our soul actually leaves, and it goes and it charges itself and comes back recharged with messages in terms of what to do. You know, like it even says there's like many teachings about dreams and the power of sleep. Like Kabbalistically, there's many teachings about it. That, you know, like throughout the night, you can even do a certain aspect of your tikkun and come back, wake up with a new new mindset, new set of things to do, and you know, you can even like correct things in your sleep. So when we go to sleep with a heavy body, what it does is that it kind of you have a plane and you tie to it big, huge rocks. So this plane wants to get off and wants to fly, but there's these rocks that doesn't let it fly off. So if we actually eat heavy stuff just before bed, it will prevent our soul to take off. And that's why most of the time we don't have dreams, because dreams is that it's similar again to the idea of, if I put it in the level of planes, it's like your plane can fly under the clouds or can go above the clouds. So every time it goes above the clouds, you can dream, you know. So it's like the soul goes up when we go to sleep, but if the body is heavy, it will not allow it to go high. But if you if your body is clean, you know, you don't go to bed feeling heavy, then it will allow the soul to also elevate itself. Good not to eat 3 hours before. Eat lighter things first, and then the heavier things. Again, like to create the flow, like to, you know, kind of like a traffic. If you put the rock first, and then you try to put the water, you know, or like the soup and so on, it's going to create difficulty in the body to break it. Like it's also scientifically proven that it's better to eat lighter things, more liquid things first, because the body can use the enzymes to break those things faster, and then to eat the heavier things, like the more solid things. And again, the idea is to create a flow in the body, that knowing how the body works, so that whatever I eat is not going to be a burden on the body, and it's not going to be a burden on my soul. Because if the body is heavy, then it's going to have side effects on the soul as well, because that's where my soul exists.
You mean heavy with food, or like heavy?
Heavy with food, meaning that like you eat a heavy food, a fatty, that like like a food that will make you feel heavy afterwards, you know.
Do heavier people also, you think, does it affect their soul too? When people are heavy, carrying extra weight?
Yeah, of course, definitely. Like I'm not going to go into it, but in terms of the body tells like how we keep energy, you know. So sometimes like overweight is because we're holding on to things and we don't want to let them go. And when a person like actually lets go of stuff, then they start losing weight as well. So the weight is sometimes an issue of actually certain things that that the person is holding on to. You know, I'm not like going to go into body type, because it's not to do with that. It's not like about looking a certain way, but to understand that that like how we take care of it is how we take care of the soul, because the soul exists in the body. You know, to look at it, to come to it with that consciousness. Like I don't want to live in a dirty house, so I make it clean. I make it look pretty because this is where I live, right? If it looks pretty, clean, smells nice, then I will feel better. So it's the same way. We don't want that the soul, which is our GPS, right? Like if we have a body that's clean, that's clear, then the soul also will be clear, will know what it came to do, what it's supposed to do. It's not going to be blurred, confused, getting upset to every single thing, and, you know, that going into dramas and so on. It really affects us. It really affects us. And the way to see it is that, like I said, only if you like get up from the table hungry, you will already feel a difference. I guarantee you that. Like if you do the restriction of, let's say, okay, I'm going to eat only when I'm hungry and drink when I'm thirsty. And at the same time, you know, I'm not going to fill myself up. I'm going to eat to the degree that I know, okay, I'm good. Like, but not like so full. You know that like you're full. You can eat a few more, but you say that's enough. When you leave it like that, you will see the way you feel in terms of clarity is also going to be different, much different. And then it says a person should keep his bowel system flowing easily. It's very interesting and very funny at the same time. To me, it's funny, I don't know, but there's even like a law that says like if you need to go to the bathroom, you should not keep it. Like you should immediately go to the bathroom. You know, because again, it's like the flow in the body should be always pure and should be flowing easily all the time. And in terms of digestion, we spoke about it a little bit last week that we said, you know, it's not just like sowing, I mean, how you say, planting the seeds and harvesting it from the field, you know, all this like difficulty that we need to go through to get the food, but also even if, let's say, the food is served in front of us, there's still an effort that the body puts to burn it, like the whole digestive system. So no matter what you do, even if the food comes in the easiest way, there's still an energy that that takes place, even with digestion. So when a person also needs to go, you know, we need to help the body, like to have it clean and open, and also in terms of the food we eat, that it's like easily digestible, and so on. And by the way, when a person has problems with you know, bowel movements, it's most of the time, again, shows a consciousness, meaning that like maybe the person doesn't want to let go of something and like holding on to something. And so again, like how the two affect each other, like the way that we think and we operate affects the body. We learned it a lot in the healing classes, right? All the different types of diseases actually reflect how we think, and how our consciousnesses affect the different types of diseases that show up in our body. And at the same time, how our body is also affects how clearly we think, how clearly we can hear our soul and operate from the purpose of the soul. Why am I working out? Am I working out because I want to look a certain way to people, or I'm working out because I want to be healthy? That question already determines if it's a proactive thing that I'm doing or if it's a reactive thing. If I'm doing it because I want to look a certain way so that people will like me, so that I will appear a certain way, then it's a reactive thing I'm doing. Then it's not going to really feed anything. You know, it's like no matter what I do, it's not going to be enough. Again, like just like you eat and it's never going to be enough. If no matter how look I good, how skinny I am, how muscly I am, it's still not going to be good enough. So, but if let's say I actually don't want to exercise, I don't want to work, you know, like walk, I don't want to do anything, and I actually do push myself so that I want to take care of my body, so that it will be a place for my soul to be, then it's a restriction. So it depends also why I'm in the gym.
So when you said the body reflects, and the body can do something to the mind, right?
Mm-hmm. And the mind can do to the body, yeah.
So I noticed, like, since I started consecutively going,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like stronger up here.
Yeah,
Is that
definitely.
just making it up, or
No, it's
talking
definitely
myself
true.
into it?
No, it's definitely true.
Yeah.
Because the moment you start working out is like a great meditation. For example, I don't know if you ever did like long runs. In the beginning, you really hear your opponent. You know, you really hear the opponent. Any kind of workout you do, you hear the opponent telling you, oh my God, this is so hard. I'm sweating. Look at this. I should give up now, right? Like you, let's say you need to do 15 push-ups, and in the halfway, eighth push-up, this voice tells you, give up, give up, give up. You know, but when you continue and you do it, you realize, wow, I could do it. So physical workout is like a meditation in a way that you can really see that you are able to overcome that voice. That even though you hear that voice, you can overcome it. So doing that also definitely affects how, you know, because it's helping you connect to that part of you that says, no, you can do it, you know? So definitely, the more you work out, the more clarity you will feel with it, especially if it's difficult. Because think about it, you know, before you go to the gym, you hear this voice that says, "Oh my God, it's so late. It's this." There's all these excuses why not to go. And then once you work out, you never say, "Oh, why did I come?" You never feel like that, right? Like, you never say to yourself, "Oh, such a waste of time. Why did I come?" You feel amazing afterwards. You say, "Wow, it's great that I can run another hour." Like, right? Like you suddenly feel energized with it. It's again like it's the trick of the opponent making us feel like that. You have a question? Oh, okay. So the next thing that I want to start focusing is again, like in terms of how to eat. How can we connect to the light inside the food, and in a way to elevate that spark inside the food? There's a meditation that the Ari says that we should do. Is the word ma'achal, which is like eating. He says that has a numerical value of 91, and the two names of the Creator, which helps us connect to the physical world and the upper worlds, and like the numerical value 91 is also the word Amen, which, you know, after every prayer we say Amen, like every blessing, not prayer, but like blessing, we say Amen. Because the word Amen actually connects the physical to the spiritual. And the number 91 is the numerical value of uniting the physical and the spiritual together. So the Ari says, every time you're eating, it's a good thing to think of the word ma'achal, or, you know, if you cannot remember the word, what the word was, at least to think that I'm uniting the physical and the spiritual, meaning that I'm connecting to the 100% of this of this food, because we know that the food has its physical existence, and at the same time, like we spoke, it has a soul to it. So if we eat, I want to connect to the soul, and I want to elevate the soul inside this food, then you are connecting to the 100% of the food, not just to the physical aspect of it. So another thing to keep in mind, to remind ourselves, is as I'm eating, I'm uniting the physical and the spiritual worlds. I want to connect to the 100% of the food, meaning that like I'm enjoying the taste, I love the taste of it, but at the same time I'm giving this apple, you know, the chance to elevate its what it came to do, to elevate its soul as well.
What is the first word means?
Ma'achal, it's like to eat, like it's food.
And the 26?
The 26 and the 65, it's the different combinations of the name of the Creator. One of them, the 26 is like the higher, the spirit, like more higher levels, and the 65 is more of the physical world. So together, yeah, it's like connects us the physical and the spiritual. Adni and the Yud Kei Vav Kei. This is the Yud Kei Vav Kei, and this is the Adni. Adni, like I can't say it, I can't pronounce it, but it's also a combination for the name of the Creator. And the second thing that he says is to think of the word, the letter Aleph. And the letter Aleph has inside, like if you break it like this, you see that there's a Yud and there's a Vav inside it, you see? And there's another one here, a Yud, another Vav. And if you put the Yud and the Vav together, Yud is 10, Vav is 6. Altogether it's like 16. Because there's two of them, it's 32. And the number 32 is also the numerical value of the word Lev, which is heart. And at the same time, we have 32 teeth in our mouth. So the Kabbalists say when you eat, because it's the teeth that's breaking down the food, and there's 32 of it. It's like very interesting. Why 32, right? Why not another number, but 32 exact teeth in our mouth? Because it's a way to connect to. There's also like 32 pathways of wisdom, it says, and at the same time in the Torah, the first letter of the Torah is Bet, and the first letter of the Torah is Bet. And the last letter of Torah is Lamed. and together it's lev, which is heart. Again, like, so the whole idea of eating is also, you know, as you're chewing, you want to connect to the wisdom. You want to connect to your heart. You want to connect to the pathways of wisdom, the 32 pathways of wisdom. Not just, again, you know, as we talk, do you realize like how selfishly we eat and how unconsciously we eat? Yeah? Because it's just, we're just like consumers most of the time in terms around food. Okay, the next thing that I want to get into is to teach you different types of blessings. So when we approach the concept of blessings in a religious way, you know, like if somebody is religious, they would say, you know, you need to give thanks. That's why you do the blessing, right? That's the consciousness. Like you're eating, you need to appreciate the food. That's why you need to do the blessing. That's the consciousness that a religious person would have. But the Kabbalists actually teach that's not at all the reason, because the Creator doesn't lack anything. The Creator doesn't need your thank you, you know. If you say thank you, it's good for you that you say thank you, you know, that you are in a like a higher consciousness. It's not that the Creator needs your thank you. The whole idea of the blessing, the Kabbalists teach that it's to connect to the consciousness of, I'm with this blessing activating the soul inside this food. It's like you're giving it kind of like, again, I'll put it in a funny way, but like you have a wand in your hand and you touch the wand into the food and you say, okay, now the spell, like the magic is activated, you know, that like now the food is really alive. You know, that's the whole idea of the blessing. So a person can do blessing in a robotic way without thinking. Is the food activated? Not really. So the whole idea of doing the blessing is because you want to have that consciousness. I want to activate the soul inside this food. You know, like connect to the light inside this food so that it nourishes my body, nourishes my soul, and also I'm sharing with the food because I'm helping it also do what it came to do in this universe. So there's different types of food that have different types of blessings. And we're going to talk more about it next week, because you may ask why there isn't just one blessing that you say that's for every food, right? That would be easy. But just like there's different types of existence that we spoke last week, that there's 4 types of existence, there's also within food different levels of souls. Just like within human beings, there's different levels of souls. Even though they're all human beings, there's different levels of soul that exist within human beings. So also within food, there are certain foods that have higher souls and that have lower levels of soul. So the blessings connect us to different specific ones. So we will see all the major food blessings. By the way, I'm not going to talk about it, but I'm just going to mention it. Just like there is foods before blessings before food, there's also blessings after food that I'm not sharing with you, but you can find it in the Dialing God book. And that the Kabbalists say it's kind of, you know, the reason why we do the end blessing, like the final blessing after we eat, is to save the energy. It's just like, you know, you open a Word file, you write new things inside, and you want to press save to save that energy. The reason why we do the end blessing, like the final blessing after we eat, is to be able to sustain that energy, to be able to keep that energy with us. So you can look into that also. I'm not going to teach you about it, but it's also, if you're up for it, you know, it's another level. But if you don't do this at all, start at least with doing these blessings. Again, not with a religious mind, meaning that, oh, if I don't do it, I'm going to be punished, or I'll be an unappreciative person. It's not for that. It's to activate the energy inside the food. So we're going to go over the different types of blessings. Blessing over bread, and we're going to talk about why next week, but bread is basically the main food. And it's like the basic kind of, how you say, building block in a way, exactly. Like it's the main food that has a way to draw energy, you know, and approaching to Pesach, we will again speak more about it. The whole energy of wheat is actually desire to receive. So it's something that absorbs energy. Wheat is something that absorbs a lot of energy in it. That's why we do all the blessings with bread, because it's something that has a desire to receive. Okay, and that's why we don't eat anything with like that rises during Pesach, because we don't want to connect to this consciousness of want to like just receive for itself alone, or like things that take space. Like, but you know, again, it's not just because we left Egypt this many years ago now, and they ate matzah, they didn't have time to bake, and now we're eating matzah. You know, that's not the consciousness of why we eat matzah. And like I said, I'm going to share with you in the last class how they actually, like in the center, how we make the matzah. By the way, it's ongoing at the moment. Like the students of the center already started making the matzah. If you have the chance, I would definitely recommend to volunteer for the matzah bakery, because it's a great experience. Like you see how, like what goes into that matzah while it's being made. And so we'll speak more about like the types of food and why we eat them and so on next week. But now let's talk about like the different blessings that we can do to activate the energies in it. I'm not going to say them because it means we'll need to eat them now, and I don't have the samples of these foods at the moment. I'm sorry for that. I'm not going to go into it. It's true, but it's like a deep Kabbalistic concept, you know, like we'll talk about it. Like when we talk about what we eat, and when we talk about bread, I'm going to explain it much more. But I don't want to go into it now because it will take another 15 minutes to explain that. So I'm not going to be able to read the blessings because it means that I would need to eat something after it. But I'll just go over the categories. So hamotzi would be for anything that's made of wheat, barley, rye, oat, or spelt in terms of bread. You know, so spelt bread also you would need to say the blessing hamotzi. And there's a hand washing that we do before. You know, the whole idea of the hand washing is also to come to the food in the most cleanest way. And hands, we do everything with hands. And there's negative energy that's attached to it. So the whole idea of washing hands before eating bread is to remove that negative energy before we touch the bread itself.
Is there prayer for the hand washing?
No, I didn't put that one, but you can find it in the Dialing God book if you want to see the blessing for the hand washing. So every time we eat bread, we say the hamotzi again to elevate the sparks inside the bread, to activate the soul inside the food. Then mezonot, any type of cookies, like things that have still wheat, but it's not in a form of bread, you know? So crackers, cereals, pastas, cake, pies, even rice, you say mezonot. Then if you're having wine or grape juice, and again, we're going to talk about like what's the specific of grape juice. There's like certain foods that have different types of energies. Grape is one of them. We say the blessing for wine, hagefen. There is the Borei Pri Hagefen, the hagefen one.
Yeah,
The third one. The translation is, I'm sorry, they didn't put it there. Yeah. So then we come to the ha'etz. For the fruits that have, that comes from the trees, we say the blessings pri ha'etz. And for the food that comes from the ground, or fruits and vegetables that come from the ground, you know, carrots, for example, it's like immediately from the ground. So for those kind of things, you say adama. And She'akol is if, let's say, it came in a form that you don't recognize what is inside it anymore, which means that apple juice, you know, like it's apples inside, but it's in a form of juice. So you say she'akol to it. Or rice cake, it's debatable. There's like different things that people say for it. Like some say you should say mezonot because you see the rice in it, but some say it's not in the form of rice anymore. It has changed its shape. So you can say she'akol for it. Okay? If let's say that you have a plate in front of you that has olives, feta cheese, bread, and jam, and you know, like few different types of food, you say all of them. So every time you're about to taste, so you first taste the cracker, then you taste the olives, you know, then you taste the potatoes, and then you taste the egg.
Or just have a piece of bread.
Or you have a piece of bread,
Always
yeah.
have bread on your plate.
Yeah. So the idea is not like now to get religious about it and you know, to get lost in the translation of it, but it's the whole idea is, first of all, where is my consciousness? You know, to approach the food again, like I want to connect to the light inside the food, and that's how I want to eat it. The next level of it, okay, now I want to elevate the energy inside the food, so I want to say the blessing to elevate the energy inside the food. Maybe if you didn't memorize them by now, it will be an effort in the beginning. Oh, what was this one? Or you will find yourself asking questions. Oh, is this she'akol? Is this mezonot? Is this, right? You're gonna, even like as you go, sometimes ask yourself, like, which blessing do I need to say for this? So pay attention to it this week. And if you have questions, we can discuss them next week as well. Like you said, eggs, what do I say, right? Like,
I wonder if you could bring any light on this question. The notion that people have of being, quote, compulsive, I find interesting if we do these kinds of blessings, and this is where our consciousness is, that would certainly, it seems to me, almost eliminate that.
yeah, definitely.
And when I hear the way you're speaking, it almost feels like the compulsion is something you almost accept, almost, I guess, like that word addiction you gave us.
Yeah, like robotic. That's why I shared with you last week the 722 name, Victory Over Addictions, because we don't realize how robotic we are. And it's an addiction. It's like you don't think about it. You just go to it because I want to get energy from it. We don't have this aspect of 1 second, like, why am I doing? And the Rav always explained, the whole idea of being proactive is to say 1 second. 1 second, why am I doing what I'm doing? You know, why am I doing it? And Karen always says, you know, it's very true. Karen always says we're just doers. We just do things, but we're not beings. Like, it's called human beings. And guys, we don't know how to be, which means that, like, I'm being now. I'm present while I'm eating. I'm conscious why I'm eating it, what I'm eating, what's the energy in it, right? We're just like it kind of like says, like, it's called human beings, but it should be called human doers, because we're just doing things without really being in it, like not really conscious and aware of why we do what we do. So next week we're going to talk about what kinds of food to eat, and it will give more clarity into understanding why there's also different blessings to food we eat. So have a great week, and see you all next week.